No cap.
No cap, no recap.
No recap.
All right, well, we're here. Episode 2
So two, come
of
on.
Off Script.
We made it back.
We didn't just quit after one episode.
Thought
prou-
about it.
I'm
That's
proud
what
of
I
us.
said.
Hey, we're not quitters though. We're not quitters.
I'm proud of us. We're making it happen. We might quit after episode 2.
Might quit after episode 2. See how it goes.
But yeah, episode 2, we're here. We coming off the heels of Easter. Easter services were awesome. We had a lot of people on campus. I think a lot of people were impacted. We may dive into it like in a future episode, but we as a staff like prayed the Tuesday before Easter, and I honestly think that our whole staff spending an entire day in prayer, not just praying for Easter, but praying for a lot of things, I think that was directly related to like the response that we saw, for the services
Yeah, it's
over
crazy.
Easter weekend. We had an incredible response, and I think people were super impacted, by the gospel. So, yeah, I think today we kind of dive into the opener that we created for Easter services. I think the goal would be just to give some insight into kind of our different perspectives of the whole project. Not just the filming part of it, but the pre-pro, editing, directing, all the different aspects, the different roles that we played in it.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of I'll start us off by reading kind of what our creative director kind of wrote up as just like a synopsis of the opener, just to kind of capture it in a nutshell, if you will. So the cross was meant for death, but God turned it for life. The Easter opener was inspired by Genesis 50, when Joseph's brothers pleaded with him after selling him into slavery, suffering, and what seemed like the end. Instead of giving them what they deserved, he spoke kindly to them. You planned evil against me, and God planned it for good. What was meant for death, God turned into life. So the thought process was to create a garden cross and place it in the middle of a warehouse where nothing is supposed to grow, to represent how God takes the most barren places and brings something to life. That's really the story of Easter. Jesus walked out of the grave, and because of him, life and hope are still breaking through where they shouldn't. So, um, we had originally planned another location, but just because of logistics and budget, we decided to go a different route.
Yeah.
But a lot of this came about because one, Becca brought some really great vision, I think, to the project. And we all kind of rallied around that idea of this like death to life, life where it's not meant to be. And so I think she took that, and then we kind of work through vision decks, is kind of what we call them. And so if you're familiar in kind of the film space, there are pitch decks where you're trying to pitch an idea to a potential client or something like that. So we use vision decks, and it's kind of a way to encapsulate like inspo, kind of a synopsis. It could be location photos, colors that we're thinking about, and we can give that out to the team, and that way everybody can kind of be on the same page with kind of where the project's going, how it was kind of birthed, if you will. And so I think those vision decks are like super important, super critical
Yeah.
in the early stages of a project, so that everybody can understand like where are we going with this thing. And it's a good visual way for us to kind of flip through and kind of see, what we're thinking. So I think with that being said, Taylor, if you want to kind of go into just like maybe some of the pre-production process, and you can talk about your role if you want to. Yeah, if you want to kind of jump us off.
Yeah, man. So I think kind of from there, after we got just kind of the overall vision and the idea from Becca and the rest of the team, I think we kind of hit the ground running. I think the original idea was just kind of a different vision that kind of took us out of state and stuff like that. And I think, we were already kind of in a pre-production process. And I remember like we were kind of in the middle of the process, and we hear this last minute pivot of like, hey, due to budget and due to just some other logistical things, hey, we're gonna transition and we're gonna shoot this here in Nashville. So I think my original thought was just just like, hey, like let's like pivot really quick and see kind of what we can do and like what the Lord's gonna do through this. Like Joseph and I were literally like going through this like Milanote. We typically our pre-production process is in Milanote, and we're doing everything from your shot list, your inspo, different things from like things like shot deck, stuff like that, where we're pulling different inspo camera angles, things like that. Um, and so we were kind of in the middle of this process, and then when we hear the transition, I think it was our timeline kind of went from here to like here. It's
Mhm.
like we don't have as much time to figure this out. So yeah, I mean we kind of hit the ground running and had multiple. We had like multiple meetings kind of back to back to back, like a couple times a week. I think it almost was, or like at least once a week, and kind of walk through Milanote and like, hey, what are we thinking for location? It took us a while to be able to find the warehouse that we came across,
Mhm.
which is super awesome set, by the way. They had like multiple
Yeah.
different sets other
Very
than
cool.
the
Warren Paint, right? Warren
yeah,
Paint Studios.
yeah, shout out One Paint.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so that was super great. I think once we kind of dialed in a location, from there we were kind of able to, we planned a time to location scout, which was super helpful. And that's a lot of times like part of our pre-production process, right? Is like trying to location scout. Um, and I think what's been helpful for us in that, like specifically for the Easter one, was, based on kind of the vision that we had, we were trying to, do this death to life theme and like how do you do that in a warehouse? Like
Right.
so like being able to go to location in Nashville and kind of see, what we're working with. The warehouse was I feel like we had to pivot a lot more than we thought.
Right.
Originally.
Well, I think we got there and like windows were in different
Yeah,
places, and
windows.
there was a giant like bay door that we weren't really
Yeah.
expecting. And so yeah, I think to your point, like location scouting is, if you can
Huge.
do it, is
It's
super
huge.
critical, because then from there we were able to map out where we wanted lights and cameras and, where we want to put up video village and
Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a believer that probably saved us like at least a couple hours or at least an hour. The
yeah,
fact that we went in location scouted
The windows were
because
frosted when we
yeah,
first
windows
got
were
there. It
frosted
was
over.
crazy.
yeah,
We
Yeah.
I think like the original like image that we saw on Peerspace or whatever was like the windows weren't frosted over. And then we get there
yeah.
and we're like, oh man, they're frosted over. So this changes instead of lighting
Mhm.
from what was like the south side, we had to light from the north side.
Yep.
And so it kind of changed the whole story and the whole vision there. Or I guess I wouldn't say the whole story, but it definitely changed like
Yeah.
the original vision.
Yep.
But yeah, I think starting with the pre-production process in Milanote, and then fast forward, we're on location. My role was to assistant direct, so got to work a lot with Joseph and well, Joseph and Brian, but Joseph specifically
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
since Joseph directed it, got to work a lot with you, man, and which was super awesome. I think we were able to really dial in kind of what we were thinking. You were
Yeah.
able to kind of share that with Brian really well, on like you know kind of color temperature we're working with and just like overall vision. So yeah, I mean it went really great from there. Also first AC'd, which was super
There
great.
you go. I was like, okay, gotta mention it,
Ch-
bro.
yeah,
Absolutely.
church
Absolutely.
church production sets, sometimes we got to do multiple roles.
Yeah.
Multiple.
So being willing to do that, that was I think my first time first ACing, which
Crushed it.
you guys tell me
Yeah,
what you think.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it
Crushed it.
was super fun. I think like pulling focus from behind the director's monitor was a little pressure, but it was a blast. I'm ready to do it again. I'm ready.
No,
Yeah.
I
Come on.
mean, bro, when we first got in there, so it's super interesting, like coming from like kind of like the opposite side, kind of like directing and trying to work with talent. It's interesting. So we had Norma, we had Evelyn, and then we had our coworker Lori, who were there, who were all amazing, and then we had Leah, who was singing. And to your point, when we first got in there, like we had the large garage door that we expected them to walk in, and then we had to change it. And Bryce was like, "Let's do this." Um, and something that I've been learning a lot, especially with directing, is like I think we had kind of alluded to this, but always start with prayer. Like
Yeah.
when you kind of come in a set, like creating an environment where everyone feels comfortable. And then really like sitting down with, so I sat down with Leah and we just had a chance to talk, kind of like breaking that ice. And I think the first take we went through, um, I think you can just tell when you're going through a music video, the first take is like the singer's like, okay, what's kind of happening,
Just
and I
kind of
had to,
feeling it out.
yeah, feeling it out, and I had to learn like, okay, so Leah might need more direction of like, hey, use more hands. Hey, let's see more emotion. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of nervousness to be like, hey, screaming from behind the camera, do this, especially when they're performing. But Leah was amazing. And I think the biggest thing is like making sure inside of your vision when you're adjusting, like, Norma, hey, come over here. Like, it's literally your job to do that. And I think as a director, things that I'm beginning to learn is like, when you're kind of stepping into a project, it starts and it stops with you. Like the buck starts and it stops with you. So you have to be okay with moving people, directing people, putting them in a certain place, telling them to do this, telling them to do that. And I think there is a little bit of nervousness with that. Even with talking with Brian, like, hey, I don't like that camera angle, and being okay. It's like
Sure.
I'm not trying to hurt your feelings.
Right.
I'm just like, this is what the project needs. This is how it breathes, and being able to see it later and being able to see like the fruit of all of the hard work we put in, from Taylor's pre-pro to literally having to change up shots the day of because we're like, hey, we can't do this. So we need to like scrap the whole thing that we had, the whole first shot list we had. We need to change this up a little bit, and we need to figure out how we can communicate with Brian so he can communicate with Bryce. Um, was super, super cool. But I mean, man, directing is a privilege, but it's also it's a little heavy. It
Yeah.
can be really heavy. I think after the first day, I went home and I'm just kind of thinking through like, man, I could have done this. Man, I could have done that.
Mm,
But I think the biggest thing that I've been learning from both of you is like, you have to have confidence. You have to
mm,
move with confidence. You have to understand what's happening. But I think we executed it well.
yeah.
Again, there's always nerves. There's always gonna be nerves when you leave a set, uh, but I think I was in it.
Yeah. I think too, you have to remember that like people are they want direction,
Right.
right? Like as
Yeah.
a DP, like I have my own thought process of like what I think the shots should be,
Hmm.
right? Um, and I feel like I need to have an eye for things,
Sure.
but at the same time, like I want direction because like obviously I want to do a good job and I want to take the director's vision, right, and execute it to the best of my ability.
Mm.
So I think just as a director, you have to remind yourself like sometimes your actors don't really know what they're doing, especially from like a church perspective, and you're just getting lay people from the church who aren't professional actors. Like
Yeah.
they definitely need direction on what we
Yeah.
want them to do. So I think sometimes I know I can get caught up in that if I'm asked to direct and I'm very like timid sometimes. And I'm like, oh man, I don't want to come across as like a jerk or like,
Yeah.
telling people what to do. But I think if you don't, then you just have people that are standing around. They're like, all right, cool. I don't really know what to do. I'm just hanging out, you
Yeah.
know? So I think it's a good reminder that like everyone on set is looking to you for direction, you know?
Mm.
Um, and so that's what you're there to do is to give them that direction. So I
Yeah.
think it's a great reminder.
I think something that we talked about on staff retreat, and I kind of brought this up with a few people. I think I talked to Ryan about it. And Ryan is our motion designer here at the church for context. Um,
Shout out Ryan.
shout out
Shout out
Ryan.
Ryan,
What a
Is
wizard.
the goat.
uh, yeah, I mean, maybe not a wizard, but he's good at what he does. We were talking and we were just like, man, like it is amazing to be able to work in a church, mainly because one, God doesn't need us for these projects, but also on the same side, we're able to. I look at every project as like a celebration of what the Lord has done, right? So it's like we're looking at it from the perspective of we're not filming for victory, we're filming from victory, so right. So we're just taking the message in the grace and the um, just the life change that we've truly experienced, and then we're just pushing that forward. And I think when you operate from that space, again, even from a director standpoint, first AC or a DP, it's like I think a lot of that pressure comes off. Again, the human side of us is gonna like take on a lot of that pressure because we want to try to figure out how can we work with excellence, right? That's one of Brian's mantras is like when we go on set, we're working with excellence. Um, but I think there's a lot of weight that comes off. Um, I know Brian, you had worked with Bryce though quite a bit. So like, what was that like for you? Kind of, um, firstly, kind of setting up our shots and the visions we had in mind, and then for you just kind of communicating that with Bryce. Like, how did that kind of go? And how did that just that selection of even contract? How'd that work?
Yeah, so Bryce was our gaffer. and I DP'd, so it's like that relationship between DP and gaffer is super critical.
Sure. Man.
I think DP is kind of again taking that vision from the director, and even our creative director Becca,
Yeah.
and trying to craft these shots, but also working with, um, you know, your gaffer and even like grip department on like, okay, where do we want things to kind of get this to come to life,
Sure.
right? Because like you can have the best camera and the best lenses and all the things, but then if your lighting is not good, it's not gonna look good,
People notice it.
you know.
Yeah.
And we've worked with Bryce before. Shout out Bryce, like incredible gaffer. Um, you know, uh, I would put him up against a lot of other gaffers.
Yeah.
A lot of other gaffers. He's
He's-
also I will say Bryce is just a good hang.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
just
like
like
that
that.
is like
Awesome.
that
For
is
sure. Such a cool dude,
Yeah.
man.
that's just something that when you're working with contractors or just other creatives in general,
Yeah.
like you can be the most talented person in the room, but like if people don't like to hang out with you, if you're not a good hang or you're a jerk,
It's a short run.
probably not gonna get called back.
It's a short run.
You know, you're probably not. And so, yeah, I think again, taking that vision that you and Becca and Taylor kind of crafted through that pre-pro of what you wanted it to look like, and then working with not only Bryce, but we also had Enoch, who came in, and Enoch's a phenomenal filmmaker, just in his own right, and he was willing to come in and just be kind of like a swing position and just do whatever needed to be done,
He's
you
awesome.
know. And then also on the second day, we had Jacob come in and kind of do the same thing, and then he also stepped it up and also took BTS photos on top of all the other things that we
Yeah.
asked him to do.
Rock star. Rock star.
Talk about
And
going
so,
over and beyond, man.
yeah,
Bro was
I
doing
mean,
everything. It was awesome.
two phenomenal
Shout out to
guys that
Jacob.
that just
Yeah.
showed up and said, "Hey, I'm willing to do
Yeah.
whatever." But yeah, working with Bryce and trying to figure out, okay, we've got our vocalist standing here. We're building this cross out of flowers on the floor here.
Mm.
We want to kind of mimic sunlight if we can. And like you guys alluded to earlier, when we went to Location Scout, we realized that half of the room had frosted windows. Well, we wanted like really harsh sunlight coming through because we had planned on hazing the room. And so we really wanted those like really strong light rays coming in the windows.
Yeah.
Well, when you have a frosted window, you can kiss the light ray goodbye. Like that ain't happening, you know? So we really had to like switch up. Okay, well, we're not going to light on this side. Now we have to light on this side. So it really kind of changed up the orientation of the room,
Yeah.
But when we got there, I mean, that's the one thing about working with someone who is just a really high end professional. I feel like we gave Bryce that direction of like, here's where people are standing, here's where things are happening.
He ran with it.
And he was just like, cool. And then at what felt like just a few minutes, I think it was longer than that, but what felt like a few minutes, like he had key lights set up, he had fill lights set up, like,
I think that's the kind of stuff you look for too, like in working with like someone who's like a specialist.
Mhm.
Is just like you like tell them the direction and they just like take it and run,
Yeah.
and you don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And so I think Bryce did that really well. He
Yeah,
crushed it.
I don't feel like you have to come behind them a little bit, you
Yeah,
know?
you don't have to hold their hand
Yeah.
through it. Like,
Yeah.
just let them do their job. Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, he crushed the lighting setup for it. It looked awesome, and I think the goal, especially when you're working with artificial light, but you're trying to mimic sunlight, is that you want it to look as realistic as possible. And I think we accomplished that,
Yeah.
and that's solely due to his expertise, and how he just kind of crushed that whole set. So. Yeah, working with him was phenomenal. I think from
Always.
like from a look standpoint, I feel like we've used iron glass lenses in the past, which if you're not familiar with those are rehoused Soviet lenses from gosh the 60s, I think 50s, 60s, 70s, that just have some like really phenomenal character to them.
Yeah. They're beautiful
The
lenses.
bokeh looks amazing. Lens flares are, I mean, I feel like they have been in Hollywood movies, like they have been used in those. So they look phenomenal. And I think any opportunity we have to shoot with those, we're going to try to take that. Taylor had not had a lot of experience with them, and I feel like Joseph and I had been like hyping them up,
Because
Oh,
we're
and
hyping
yeah.
it up
so
so much, man.
uh,
So much.
Taylor was like, "Yeah, like, let's run with that."
Let's run with them.
Um,
Trust you
so
guys.
we thankfully shout out DBV here in town.
DBV
They've
Rentals.
got maybe the only set of iron glass in Nashville
Mm.
that I'm aware of, at least for rent. And so we rented, I think, a 5 or 6 lens set from them,
Mhm.
and then ran Komodo X and a Raptor for our camera setups. Um, so we ran, I think it was the V Raptor, Super 35 V Raptor on our Ronin 2 for a lot of our steady shots that we wanted of Leah while she was singing, and then the rest of it was Komodo X's, either handheld on Easy Rig or some of the shots that we got that were on the dolly, on our Dana dolly,
Yep.
were also the Komodo X.
You have to talk about the last shot of the video.
Yeah, so Becca had this idea where the last shot for the project
It's tough.
was kind of this like rising tilt shot of the cross, kind of this reveal. So the thought process was that we're showing gardeners, build a cross, but we don't really give away what they're building. You're just seeing a lot of the flowers, a lot of tight shots, and at the end you have this reveal of like, oh, dang, they're building this huge cross out of flowers. And so we basically had 2 options. We could bring our own like scissor jib that we have that I'm not even sure that this crew has used it.
No, we have not.
It basically just sits in our gear closet. So we could bust that out, which takes a while to set up because not only do you have to build the scissor jib, but you also have to connect the Ronin 2 and camera to it. Or we could just go with a drone and try to fly the drone inside the warehouse. And I think sometimes we as a team, like, we don't necessarily want to pick the easy route, right? Like, we want to do things again with excellence, and we want to do them the right way. But I think we also have to be understanding of like time and efficiency, and like we can't spend forever, setting things up or
It's
building things.
calculated risk
Yeah.
sometimes.
So I think we all decided like, hey, if we feel like we can get it with the drone, while it's not the same lensing and it's not the same
Yep.
cameras, if we feel like we can get the shot, framing and movement wise, like, let's go with what we know. And so I think with my history in flying drones and being Part 107 and all that kind of stuff, like, I felt very comfortable trying to pull that shot off. And so we had this really cool idea to we tried it a couple different ways. We tried like a slow push in. We tried kind of this rising tilt down thing. It got a little hairy on one of the takes. I think the rotors did hit some of the cross beams in the warehouse, but I recovered and didn't crash.
Didn't even phase him. Didn't even
Um,
phase him. The
I mean,
save was
If,
incredible.
I mean,
if it did, we didn't see it.
Yeah.
If it did, he was.
it didn't
very,
phase
ve-
me.
Yeah.
very
Looking at other
stone
people's
cold.
faces, I think a lot of people in the room thought,
We were all phased.
"Oh crap,
Yeah,
like,
we were all phased.
we're about to be done for,"
Yeah.
because that was the only drone we had, and so if it had gone down,
It would have gone down.
we wouldn't have gotten the shot. But
Just lift your
would've
hands up
pivoted.
and just point the camera
yeah,
down.
Yeah.
so after that take, that again, it got a little hairy. I think we did one more take,
Mm.
and that was the take that ended up making it into the project.
Mm.
The funny thing that I'll talk about too, and I think this is just another example of how things pivot, almost like in real time. We had the thought process that Leah is in the shot with the gardeners and the cross in the background with the drone. This kind of final reveal, and we kind of were pushing past her, to reveal the cross. And in the moment, the thought was the opener was just going to be an entire video. And the worship team and Becca, again, almost in real time, we're kind of thinking like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had her out for kind of that final, few lines of the song? And so Becca asked like, hey, is there a way to try to figure that out? Well, the way that we had filmed it was that she was in the shot. And I think this is just where you have to know your gear. And so we shot that in, we used, we have a really old Mavic Air 2S that we used for that final drone shot, but it films in at the highest resolution, I think is 5.7K, 24 frames a second. And so thankfully, even though Leah was in that final shot, because the resolution was so high, I was able to crop in and kind of move her out of that shot from a framing perspective. And I didn't really feel like we lost a ton of resolution. You know, it didn't get super grainy. Um, Obviously, working in DaVinci, like I was able to throw some noise reduction on there a little bit because the room was also pretty dark
Sure.
for the drone. I didn't want to bump the ISO up too terribly high. But again, I think that just comes back to like you have to know your gear, you have to know its limitations,
Yeah.
but you also have to know like, hey, I can bump resolution up, and if we need to crop in post, like we can, you
Yeah.
know. So that final shot, technically she's in it. I was just able to zoom in quite a bit, but um, yeah, I think we're all happy with like how it turned out.
Yeah.
You know, from my perspective and like just camera department and lensing and stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I thought the Iron Glass once again
Oh,
crushed,
cooked.
Once again,
crushed.
come on.
Yeah.
So if you have the opportunity to use that lens set, I would highly recommend it. Yeah, I think working with our contractors, working with you guys, like um, I felt really good about it after day two, and we were wrapping, and
Yeah.
I felt like we got everything we needed to get. And then in post, I think all the work that you guys did in pre-production um, and figuring out shots and talent and the location from an editing standpoint, to me, it made the edit go super easy because I knew exactly where things needed to go. And really, the only question was like, where do we show Leah in this music video? Where do we not show her? Because we
Yeah.
had a ton of B-roll of the cross being built. So um, I would say props to you guys for all the work in pre-production. Again, it made the edit super easy. And so I think too, just kind of like as we wrap up, do you guys have any just final thoughts on the project itself? Maybe something that you learned from it, something that maybe didn't go planned,
Yeah.
that you kind of wish maybe had gone differently, but you learned from it, or now that we're on the heels of it, and so you've seen it in service and maybe the impact. Um, yeah, any final thoughts?
I think,
Oh,
sorry,
go,
I was
no,
gonna say
go
real
ahead, bro.
quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think two things. One being, and I feel like this could be like all of us, honestly. Is like when I saw it playing like on Easter Sunday, like in service. I know like we got to see like some of the BTS stuff or the run throughs. But like to see it play on Easter Sunday and to see like Leah come out on stage in the final shot and like the light hit her and in the background you're seeing the cross being revealed. It was just so cool to see like how the Lord uses like projects, and I feel like it was
Mm.
it was very impactful. I think a lot of people were really moved by it, but I also think that it was really cool to see like all the work that we had put in like throughout the whole process from like
Mm.
pre-production that we were working through to Joseph directing on set, like me trying to keep everyone on time as an assistant director, pulling focus as an AC. Brian, all your shots looked awesome. And then like all the editing that went into it too. Like it was like I feel like that's one of the reasons why we do these projects is one, of course, to glorify Christ, but two, like it's like so rewarding to see like the work
Yeah.
that the Lord does through that. But I would say the second thing would just be one thing that I think that I learned was like just the just being flexible and being able to pivot with things. I think that was something that you know we as filmmakers, we faced a lot of challenges, whether it's like going on set and it being like, okay, this is not what it looked like. That's why we location scout, but also
Yeah.
just like being able to pivot locations in the little time that we had. Because I think back to my point earlier, it was like we went from having this much time to this much time, and to be able to execute in the time that we did, like it was really really cool to see that. So
Um, that's a good word, bro. That's a great word. So now I'm gonna have to rethink what I'm gonna say.
I'm
Firstly,
speaking for all of us.
oh,
Speaking for
okay,
all of
cool.
us.
Okay, cool. I'll say two things. One, I don't want to. I don't want to leave out Hancan,
Mm.
who was an awesome art
Yes.
director.
Mm.
On day
Yes.
one, she did an amazing job with Adam and our a florist that we had found. And she did an amazing job just setting up the cross, making sure like on day one it looked a certain way, and on day two it looked the exact same way. And being so consistent with detail. So I definitely can't leave her out. Hand Can, you did an amazing job.
Definitely.
Um, and then secondly, I think the biggest thing that I learned from the shoot is like don't take advantage of how cool it is just to be on set. I think a lot of times like we were so focused on like this detail, but like something that I try to do now on sets is like I try to take my time and be like, wow, I'm with other Christians on a like a music video set, and we're getting to tell the story of who God is in the gospel. Um, so I think just slowing down, and just like really enjoying the time. You know how like when we were kids and they were like, "These are the good old days," like these are the days that you'll miss, like in summer and stuff like that. I would say that it's the exact same way here. These are the days that we should like really process, and like as Andy says a lot, just don't miss it. Don't miss the moment. And then being able to see it play back in the room was kind of surreal. So I was super nervous stepping into Easter. I'm like, man, this is a big project. And for a lot of people coming on campus, it's just like it's super easy to get lost in the sauce of like, oh man, there's gonna be a lot of eyes on this. But at the end of the day, like it's for his glory and his glory alone. And I had to like really pull myself out and just be like, just don't like remove yourself from the project. The project looked amazing, but it's not about us. It's never been about us. And Brian had alluded to it earlier. We had a lot of salvations on Easter Sunday, and it's super cool to be like, we got to play a part in that. Like they saw a video, it might have moved them. The music was incredible. The preaching was incredible. And then they came up and gave their lives to Christ. So just being a small part of that, being a part of his kingdom work, and being like, we'll get to see those people in heaven someday and be like, hey, like, good to see you, like, you know. So, oops. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Cool. I think for me, it's just the fact that we started looking at uh, filming in another state, right, and all the logistics that that surround getting people there, getting flowers there, florists, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then we realized, hey, this just isn't going to work, right? Um, to me, it showed it takes an entire team moving in the same direction to really pivot that fast and that hard of a left turn, to say, okay, that's not going to work. We still have to pull this off. And how are we going to do it to the best of our ability and still tell the story that we're wanting to tell?
That's good.
And that took, like you said, like it took our designers, design team. It took Becca, our creative director. It obviously took us, um, and so many other people too. That like we'd be here all day if we were naming all the people that worked behind the scenes, to make it happen. But I think if we had all been kind of fractured and like, well, I think we should do this, or I think we should go this direction, or I think we should film at this location, or it should look like this. To me, I don't know if it would have happened, to be
Yeah.
honest. But I think we all rallied, when it was like, okay, well, that original idea is not going to work. Like, we got to pivot. I feel like we all just kind of like, all right, well, let's
get
figure
to
it
it.
out,
Let's get to it.
And so in a very short amount of time, find the location, figure out the florals, figure out the direction for the project, bring, contractors in to help us pull it off. So to me, that was kind of I would say the most encouraging thing
Yeah.
was that we all just kind of stepped up, figured it out, and pulled it off. And super, super proud of the whole team, like not just film team. I felt like it was an entire creative team effort,
Yeah.
with worship, playing a part in it with it being a music video. Um, we had to figure out something we haven't talked about, like time code, like it had to sync with the music, because what some people may not know is that while the song played in service, like there was actually instrumentalists playing the song live in service,
Orchestra. Yeah.
while the video was playing in the background. So like SMPTE and time code and all that kind of stuff had to be on point, because if you're just a few frames off or a frame off, it doesn't look right, you know. So again, I think it was just like an entire creative team effort to pull off that project, and I'm super proud of it. I think you guys should be super proud of it.
Absolutely.
I hope the creative team is super proud of it. But yeah, appreciate you guys' work on it. On to the next project.
Yeah,
Come
You
on to
on.
the
know,
next one.
that's
Absolutely.
On to the next one.
that's church life. You know,
Yep.
we can rest in it, right? It's over.
Yeah, we can enjoy the
Um,
win too. Like
yeah,
that's
we
a
knocked it
win.
out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we got to move on to the next thing. You know, so
Cool.
I think that's gonna do it today. You guys feel
Episode
good
2.
about it?
Yeah.
Episode 2. It's a wrap.
Episode 2.
Come on.
It's a
Episode 2
wrap.
of Off Script. That's a
Off
wrap.
script. Cool.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Brr, 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 brr.